Hi everyone, and welcome to the next lesson of our Java course. So, in previous two lessons, we focused on two building blocks in Java. Number one was the variables, how to define your variables, and then in the previous lesson, we talked about the data types. What data types in Java, right? So, in this lesson, we are gonna focus on to the next building blocks while we are writing our program is the Java literals. All right, and by the end of this video you will have a clear understanding of what these Java literals are, right? What it means. So the basic question is what literals are, right? So to very on a very simple terms, a literals is any fixed value that we write directly in our code. That's as simple as that. For example, if I am writing a 10, I'm probably writing a, right? Something a char, or I might be writing a true or false, right? These are sort of a literals in Java. So for example, I can use int, let's say age is equal to 70. Okay, I can say char, and then I can say grade equal to a. All right, these are the three examples in our case. So in simple terms, right, the values which you are assigning to these variables, these are the constant values, right? These are the literals. For example, this is a literal, this is also a literal. So this is a int literal, this is a char, and this is a boolean value. All right. So very simple, right? But when you start writing your code, you will probably gonna use it on your day-to-day basis without even realizing that okay, these are the string literals. All right. So let's go back to our editor, and then we're gonna explore some of the examples for a better understanding what literals are and how you're assigning these different values to these literals. All right. All right. So as I said, right, literals go hand in hand with your data types. So I could have a maybe a int literal, right? So the first one is the integers, integer literals, and there are two variation of it. Number one is a simple ints, which is the default, right? And then I can also have a long value if the range doesn't fit in my int one, right? So I can have a int age. I don't know why I always say 18. All right, let's say 50. Okay, so in this one 50 is something, so this is my literal. All right. Now if you print it simply, it's gonna print you the value. That's all. Nothing different, right? Okay. Right. So if I run it, it's gonna print me the age as 50, right? But can I make few more changes to these literals? Let's see, right? For example, how about if I want to add a binary number? Okay. By the way, so integers in Java, you can assign the integers a binary number to the integers. For example, let's say int binary. So you see 0p start with the binary number. And what happen if I print here? Let's run our code. If you see here, this was the binary representation for 10. And when I printed this one, it's not printing the binary value. It's printing actual value of those one. Similarly, I can also have a hex values, right? I probably will have a hex, and then I can also print that one. Okay, so if I print here, and let's say hex, you see this again printing 10. This is the hex representation for 10, right? Okay, similarly you can have a long values, and there is one other thing which I think Java has introduced recently. For example, int let's say I'm gonna remove this one. Okay, for example, long distance, and I'm gonna say 1. Okay, for example, this one. Now there is a one problem, right? You probably you have to count all the zeros and everything else. So in Java, you can also, I think this was added recently, all right? So where you can probably use this representation, right? Although it is only for the readability perspective, but if you now print distance, what's going to happen? Is it going to print this, or is it going to print the actual number? So it's going to print the actual number, right? Because this is just for your kind of a readability perspective. All right. Similarly, let's say if I want to assign a double value, what should, so there are two ways of doing it, right? Number one, you can always assign, let's say you can say double, okay, and you can say, well, can I assign a int value to the double? It works, right? Because by default, Java is gonna convert this int value to double, and we're gonna talk about these conversion other things when we get into the data conversions, but this is gonna work. So what is gonna happen is, if you print this one, val, it's gonna print the decimal values 20.0. You can also do, can you do the other way around? For example, if you have a int a and then you say 20.4, is it gonna work? No, it won't work. And we'll gonna talk about those one maybe once we start talking about the these data conversions, right? Similarly, I can also have a char literals. For example, I can say, let me remove this one. I can say char, okay, and let's say grade a. Then I can also print grade A. By the way, I can also do some operations on these chars, right? For example, I can also say grade plus plus, okay, and then I can also print the grade. Let's see what's going to happen here. If you run this program, in first one, it's basically printing A, and then it's basically adding and going to the next char, which is P. All right. So again, just to reiterate, right, whatever we are writing here, for example, in this case, this value is literal, right? In our previous case, when I was writing int a is equal to 30, so 30 is the literal in Java. And you see, right, I'm writing these programs, and then I'm keep on using these Java literals here, right? Okay. And there are a few things which you have to be careful while you are again creating these literals. All right, so you have to be a little careful when you are writing these literals, the rules are aligned to what we have learned onto the Java data types. For example, when you are using a int versus a long, right? Long literals, right? You have to make sure that you are adding a L at the end of it, just to tell the compiler that this is, you are intending it as a long or a int. Similarly, for the float, you have to add capital F, right? Then you have to basically, when you are using a chars, you have to make sure you are using these single quotes. Boolean, there is a one thing which you have to remember is Java is case sensitive, which means Boolean bool true, and then if you want to add true, these are literally two different things. Or even you cannot use this here because this is entirely different for Java. So be careful when you are adding all these sort of values, right? Okay, so in this case, just to reiterate, this is a literal. Again, this is a literal value for a double. This is a literal value for char. This is a literal value for string. This is a literal value for Boolean, right? So that's all for literals, right? As I said earlier, and if you like this video, if you find it helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Until then, keep learning the Java. See you in the next video and happy coding.